The message that was given was Har Ghar Tiranga. So we have our Bhagavan Shiva also in Tiranga, if you have noticed. Even the decoration in front is also coordinated in those three colors. Happy 80th Independence Day to all of us. Our ancestors put an effort to bring that freedom which they knew they will not be existing to cherish it, but they gave their life so that we can cherish it. The only prayer is getting something is easy, but after having gotten it, to maintain it is difficult. So, to maintain that swatantra, I invoke the entire Guru Parampara, Pujya Gurudev, and Bhagavan's grace unto each one of us, wherein we modulate ourselves to think more on the lines of, instead of thinking, what can the country do for me? What can I do for the country? And give our best in the Yajna Bhava spirit. Happy Independence Day to all of you. Let us begin. Om. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः Have you seen the 32nd shloka yesterday? 31st is over. 31st also we have touched upon. Repeat after me, the 31st shloka. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तः मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः Again, ye me matamidam nityam. Sometimes this sentence is wrongly interpreted as this is Bhagavan Krishna's religion. Matam. Matam means opinion. Like the other day, we saw the word and its meaning. When we offer our opinion as a vote, it is called matadan. And when that vote is counted, it is called matganana, meaning it is the counting of the opinions. The majority of that opinion is what wins the elections. Here it should not be misinterpreted as the religion of Krishna. There is nothing separate as religion of Bhagavan Krishna. It is the very Sanatana Vaidika Dharma, which is also known as today Hinduism. So in his opinion, ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti. That opinion, his opinion is that which was spoken so far, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudyasva vigatajvaraha. This was in the 30th shloka. That in the field of action, act we must, but while acting, we should be rooted in our center, core of our being. And while being centered, grounded, when we perform the actions, it has to be nirashihi nirmamaha. Nirashihi, without any anxiety, expectations, and performing the actions selflessly. This that which has been given by the scriptures. Bhagavan says, in my opinion, those who live this life of field of action, nityam anutishtanti. Tishtanti, those who abide in it. Anutishtanti. Anutishtanti, not abiding just once in a while, but anu meaning anuprotaha, meaning into every aspect of our life. This attitude of karma yoga siddhanta, yajna bhava karma, has to be invoked, and there is no choice of not invoking it. Every thought, word and deed should be done with that very attitude. Anuthishtanti. And it has to be done nityam. Consistency is the key. Who should be applying it? See, what a clarity. He did not say sadhakaha. He says every manavaha, every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, nationality, doesn't matter. This is a siddhanta. It's a principle, and therefore it has to be applied. Then, shraddhavantaha anasuyantaha. Their shraddha increases. Now, what does this word shraddha mean? Unfortunately, there are some of our Sanskrit vocabulary which does not find a suitable translation into English. One such word is shraddha. As Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji very beautifully defines this in Viveka Chudamani, he says, Vedanta Guru Vakyeshu, in the Guru Vakya, meaning having the firm faith in the Guru, that this is the one that is going to help me liberate myself. Such one is the Guru, the one who removes the andhakara, ignorance of our true nature, and takes us to the highest. Such one is the Guru. Though colloquially we have started using that word Guru for everything. Management Guru, technological Guru, even those that are in the college that teaches all kinds of vices, usually a bully, they are also called Em Guru, Bonava. So we have trivialized the word Guru, but in actual sense that Guru means the one who gives us that knowledge, which can liberate us from the ignorance of that knowledge. That knowledge meaning the knowledge of self. Such one is called the Guru. Guru Vakyeshu. So that Guru and his words of help to us. What is he speaking about? Is he having a time pass session? No. He is talking about Vedanta Vakyeshu. He is talking about the Vedanta Vakya, meaning the Upanishad Vakya, in a language that can be understood by each one of us. What is this Vedanta pointing towards? That Ishvara. So having firm faith in Guru, the Shastra and the Ishvara, and finally to culminate all of this knowledge into Swanubhuti, into one's own experience, having faith in myself that I can achieve it. Otherwise, many of us sit down, listen and say, बहुत अच्छा था, पर हमारे लिए नहीं है. सुनने के लिए तो अच्छा था. Not for me. I don't think I am made for this knowledge. It is for all manavaha. Anybody who has a head on their shoulder, this Siddhanta has to be applied. So having firm faith in 4 factors, Guru, Vedanta Vakya, Ishvara and finally in my own self. When all these 4 factors merge, that is called Shraddha. Even if one of them is missing, Shraddha is not complete. It cannot be called as Shraddha. Another meaning of the word Shraddha, Sat Dharayate iti. That capacity of the intellect to understand that which is my true nature and then abide in it. That capacity of the intellect is called Shraddha. So this Shraddha towards the path increases as you start implementing this Karma Yoga Siddhanta, because as you implicitly implement it, our own Antakarana starts becoming more and more purer, clearer. Our understanding becomes deeper. Therefore, the Shraddha, by my own self-experience, I will have a greater quality of Shraddha. Shraddhavantaha. Anasuyantaha. Pettiness is removed. Pettiness of what? Trying to validate myself. Pettiness of trying to compare myself with others. Pettiness of unhealthy competition. Pettiness about trying to show off. Pettiness of that which is not a reality but still holding on to it. These sense of pettiness of the ego, slowly it starts crumbling, weakening a hold on my conviction. Anasuyantaha. Meaning they start becoming pure-hearted in their convictions as well. Shraddhavantaha anasuyantaha muchyante te api karmabhihi. They will certainly be liberated from the clutches of this karma and its effect, which is creating more and more vasanas, which will tie us down to this life of birth and death, and the cycle is broken by this certain individual who practices this. So now, continuing, because wherever there is a statement, a figurative thing is given, the other side of the picture also has to be given. What if this pettiness is not gone? What if this is not applied in our life? What will happen to them? He says in the 32nd shloka, Etve tadabhyasuyantaha nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudhanstan vidhi nashtana chetasaha. Even here, when Bhagavan is speaking as the very Ishvara, what a humility in his approach. He's saying, in my opinion, those that do not follow, he could have said, if you do not follow this, you are doomed for life. But then he says, that is what the scripture has pointed as to what is the path. But in my opinion, if you do not adhere to this, what happens? Ye tu etat abhyasuyantaha na anutishtanti. This siddhanta is not accepted and they value their own pettiness and they do not practice this in their day-to-day life. Even if practiced, it is just a show of claiming as though you have done selflessly. When somebody is recognized, they would say, iski kya zarurat hai? And because they have said, iski kya zarurat hai, next time you don't recognize. Immediately the ego will flare up. They show as though it doesn't matter, but it certainly matters. Na anutishtanti. They do not practice this in their day-to-day life, in thought, word and deed. The Trikarana Shuddhi is not there. They may appreciate it, they may respect it, but they do not practice it. Na anutishtanti. Sarvajnana vimudhanstan vidhi nashta nachetasaha. They will become achetasaha. Achetasaha. They will be completely lost of their ability to decipher what is right, what is wrong. Their antakarana is completely lost. Isn't that what even Nachiketa said in the mantra that I referred to earlier? He says, Shobhava martyasya idantakaitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha api sarvam jivitam alpameva. So in the second sentence he says, Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha. The more I indulge into this world, not even processing what this Karma Yoga Siddhanta, the Yajna Bhava Karma in application is, and only focus on I, me, myself, my selfish indulgences, and whatever can be reaped out of it as the benefit of joys that can be enjoyed. What will happen to none? Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha. All that which we have, the capacity and talent, potentiality, it is drained out. All the energies are also drained out. When the energy is completely drained out, buddhi that has to guide us doesn't seem to have any more the capacity to guide. Any thought, any emotion that comes, we dance according to that emotion. Any attractive thing that happens outside, we are attracted and drawn into it. Do not have a sustainability of stability within. Constantly tossed in the world of despicable indulgences and then justify one's own existence that I am mere human. What else do you expect? It is human to err. It is only a human being who can be weak. No, the human being is very understanding his strength. But when that understanding itself is lost because of this overindulgences, none can protect such individual. So Bhagavan is being very, very clear. Sarvajnana vimudhaha. They have their buddhi, but their buddhi is short-circuited. Short-circuit because it is non-functional. That is why probably when we do something very foolish, our elders used to scold us. तेरी बुद्धि क्या घास चरने गई थी? Why don't you apply that buddhi which you have? Sarvajnana vimudhaha tan. Such one, nashtaha achetasaha. Nashtan achetasaha. They are aiming towards self-ruining. Nashtan. They are ruining their own life. They are ruining their own opportunity of being born as a human being. It is not a necessity that being born as a human being now, we'll have an opportunity to be born as a human being again. Depending on what kind of tendencies we have developed because of our indulgences, we may be born in a variety of 84 lakh species anywhere depending on our vasana. Supposing this life only eating and sleeping. Next life, definitely like a python. Why? That is one animal that doesn't go to hunt. It waits, open its mouth, waits for that prey to walk in. And then until it digests, it will wrap itself around a tree. And then again when it's hungry, it opens the mouth. From human being, straight down to that kind of yoni. And there are other yonis. If you have been constantly nagging and been a cause of pain for others, sucking their life out, next life, mosquito. Just because there is a mosquitoes, there are a group of mosquitoes flying in this temple doesn't make it a sattvic mosquito. There are so many options. We can fall all the way back. Tasmat, therefore, understand this and become sincere towards your own life. Otherwise, the given opportunity is lost. It will be a difficult task to come back to this opportunity again. Continuing, he says, now if somebody were to ask, the Siddhanta is so simple, its application is so practical, then why do people not follow this, implement this in their lives? So Bhagavan gives the reason for that also. He says, Sadrasham cheshtate swasyaha prakritir jnanavanapi prakritin yanti bhutani nigrahah kinkarishyati. Sadrasham cheshtate swasyaha prakritehe jnanavanapi. Here, the word jnanavan api has to be understood properly. Here they are not talking about, here Bhagavan is not mentioning about the Atma Jnani. Here he is talking about Pustaka Jnani. The one who has had the opportunity to touch Bhagavad Gita, read few slokas, understand the meaning. In spite of reading and understanding, it has not created a dent into his own personality for good, for making that change a possibility. Such Pustaka Jnani, the one who has academically studied, but practically non-implemented. Jnanavanapi, even after having studied it, what happens in their life? Bhagavan says, Sadrasham cheshtate swasyaha prakritehe. They are completely immersed and shackled by the Prakriti. Prakriti here means by their own gunas. The beauty of Sanskritam is the word guna in one sense means the qualities, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. The other meaning of the word guna is something that which is used to bind, like a rope, like a shackle. And for us, it is giving both meanings. Through the gunas, which are the qualities sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, we are bound as though by a rope. Prakritehe, by their own gunas. Prakritim yanti bhutani, and their own sattvic, rajasic, tamasic keeps drawing them deeper into samsara. However much they get a moment of inspiration and want to control, how long does our control last? Every new year we have a resolution. In that resolution we have a list of things, usually simple things. I have to reduce my weight, therefore I have to eat healthy. I have to have some exercise as a pattern. How many days that resolution last? One month? 1 month. No, the way you are laughing, you are all smiling. It is like telling me the message. 1 month. क्या बोल रहे हो स्वामी जी आप? 1 week. That also is quite a extended period. Even though we have understood. Here, nigraha kim karishyati is not a question raised out of despair. He is saying it as an objection. Objection meaning, when the thought itself is not there, to talk to them about having a disciplined lifestyle, how will it work? Because they are completely consumed by their gunas, constantly swinging according to their own moods. Most of the time tamasic, sometimes rajasic, because udara nimittam bahukruta veshaha, kuti kosam koti vidyalu. Because something has to be done, so some rajas. And as a passing idea, a glimpse of sattva. And when does this glimpse of sattva kick in? When we do something and then we enjoy that what we have done, but later, having done it, the guilt of indulgence, that takes over. Why is that guilt kicking in? Because the buddhi knows that what I am indulging in is not the right path. Therefore, the regrets, the remorse and the guilt takes over. That becomes another burden. And not able to shake it off, further that burden pushes us into tamasic way of, because in order to forget that guilt, again go back to indulgences. So somebody said, I know drinking, I'm not talking about ordinary water, drinking as a vice. Drinking has hangover. Therefore, I have decided to avoid the hangovers, stay drunk. I am not kidding. There are people, in order to not be able to face themselves, they will drown themselves into these kinds of patterns. Buddhi nashtana chetasaha. Their buddhi doesn't work, doesn't kick in. Even for the self to be protected, usually we have good protective mechanisms. Even that stops to kick in. Nigraha kim karishyati. When this is not understood, external forceful discipline instilled, how can that help? He further explains why that downfall. Actually, this entire downfall is already explained in the second chapter, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangasteshu Upajayate. Consider this as a further explanation on those two shlokas. So he explains, Indriyasyendriyasyarthe Ragadveshau Vyavasthitau तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ. इंद्रियस्य इंद्रियस्यार्थे, indriyas and there is indriya artha. The meaningfulness for that indriya is the indriya vishaya vastu. So the indriyas are there, the indriyas vishaya vastu. The indriyas, as soon as they wake up, they start craving for that indriya vishaya vastu. That bhoga lalasa is strong. Why is it that strong? He says, there are two reasons. Raga dvesha. We are so embedded in, so caught up in our likes and dislikes. And how have we defined our sense of freedom? Our sense of freedom is defined to be able to do whatever I feel like according to my raga dvesha, however long I want to, if I want to indulge in is called my sense of freedom. So Bhagavan is creating a distinction here. That kind of lifestyle is actually not swatantra, it is being in the clutches of paratantra, of the raga and dvesha. Because it is caught up in that raga dvesha, it impacts my ability to look into my own responsibilities in the most responsible manner. I start evaluating my responsibilities also in terms of raga and dvesha. That which I like, that responsibility I will do. That which I don't like, that responsibility I will not encourage. But the law of nature, what does it do? Whether you like that field of responsibility or not, it will drag you through. And then we start screaming and shouting, Ayyayo, why is this happening to me always? It's your own life, it's your own responsibility. It is not a burden. But we start treating our field of responsibilities as a burden because the raga dvesha has taken over. This raga dvesha expands itself in our life as pockets of comfort zone that we create. Wherever we find ourselves slacking back into our comfort zone, understand that we are becoming more and more slaves of our own mind, which is ridden with likes and dislikes. Raga dveshau vyavasthitau. Therefore, tayoho na vasham agachet. one should not get distracted and caught up in the raga dvesha. Our own raga dvesha, we should not be caught up in. Every responsibility to be evaluated. What is the purposefulness? How should I prepare? How should I answer to that particular responsibility? Nobody is asking whether you like it or don't like it. It is not to be evaluated from the perspective of likes and dislikes. Tayoho na vashamagachet. And he warns us very strictly. He says, this raga dvesha is like the wayside hijackers. Paripanthinau. Tauhyasya paripanthinau. Panthi, those who are walking on the path. Paripanthinau, they engulf that person and drag them away from the path. You get abducted by your own likes and dislikes. Our own mind, our own likes and dislikes kidnaps us. And the buddhi doesn't kick in. We are lost in that cycle. Somewhere down the lane we get entrenched in it, feel disgusted, maybe pull outside, again get drawn. In order to work ourselves out, there has to be some amount of rajasic nature. A complete tamasic person cannot be imagining to directly come into an active participation of life and make the best out of it. Some amount of rajas is required. Some amount of, burning desire to not accept what it is and to bring in a change. Some rajas is required. These two, raga dvesha, pull us to the most tamasic ebb of life. So therefore he is warning, be very careful with these raga and dvesha. And then he says in the next shloka, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Shreyan swadharmaha vigunaha api. Stick to your swadharma even if you don't like it. Vigunaha here doesn't mean that it is detrimental. Vigunaha here means you may not like it and yet stick to your swadharma. Paradharmat swanushthitat. It is way better than sticking to your swadharma than thinking about others doing their dharma, thinking and imagining that that is better. Why? Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha. It is okay to conclude this life fulfilling our swadharma, nidhanam, die performing our swadharma, because paradharma is bhayavaha, it is ridden with fear, anxiety, and it certainly brings in detriment to the individual. Now this shloka has to be understood in its true sense. And the most elusive word of our Sanskrit literature is the word dharma. Dharma is not talking about the duty or good conduct righteousness. These are not the terms that which is being indicated. In the earlier chapter also we have seen what dharma means. Dharma is that essential law, that which holds us together. Remove the saltness from the salt, it is no more salt. Saltness is its dharma. Remove the sourness from the lime, then it is no more lime. Remove the spiciness from the mirchi, it is no more mirchi. That which holds that vastu as that vastu, removing of which that vastu ceases to be. So what is our swadharma? From the highest standpoint, our swadharma is of the nature of supreme bliss. But here that also is not being indicated. What is being indicated is that intermediary layer of our vasanas. Our ancestors studied the human psychology with such earnesty that they understood each one of us is as we think. As we think, so we are. And we also know, yad bhavam tad bhavati. What is that bhava that we are carrying? That is decided for each individual according to their vasanas. In these vasanas, there are two major patterns. One kind of vasana that has to be understood, caught and nipped at bud. Those are the negativities that are there in us. The second kind of vasana is what is called our talent, potential and skill sets. Our entire purposefulness is understanding what is my inner toolbox filled with. What kind of talents, what kind of potential, what kind of skill sets. Understanding it, nourishing it, bringing out as a solution to the environment and dedicating that skill set which has been mastered for the welfare of everyone around selflessly. That is Swadharma. But then what do? We compare. And in our comparison, if somebody according to their Swadharma has gotten a good limelight, good fame, then I am also intrigued. Better than doing all of this, I should also probably do that. धोबी का ना इधर का ना उधर का. Neither will we be able to do justice to this nor to that. In Dallas, we have a doctor. Every festival, every event that which we have in Chinmay Mission, he is ready with a very beautiful poem. Even if the last year that festival he has given us a poem, this year the poem will be something new with a newer depth. So in the Rajopachara, there is Geetam Shravayami, Nrityam Darshayami, Kavitvam Shravayami. So he comes and gives his Kavitva. So I ask him, Doctor, how come you have so much time busy with your being a doctor to write this kind of beautiful poetry? Then he says that vritti is only for a livelihood. Whenever in my busy schedule I find any amount of time, I dedicate it only to this. And then he says, I wanted to go into literature when I was young. But then my elders forced me into MBBS, BPC and MBBS. So I feel I am stuck in this field, though it gives lot of comforts, but I am not content with that lifestyle. I wish I had that room and scope to explore this literature and literary field. Poetry comes naturally to me. Being doctor is an effort. How many such examples are there in the world? That they are, because of various situations, they are forced into certain environments. Sometimes it may not be even the parents forcing, the elders forcing. The kind of economical background that you probably the eldest child and you have 4 other siblings. What you make at home, the parents get in is not sufficient. You are the only one, now you are educated. You have to jump into the field of action, whether you like it or not, so that you can be there fending for your family. It reminds me of a famous interview of our erstwhile President Abdul Kalam. So he was asked, now that you are the first citizen of this country, as soon as he became the president, there was this interview. You have achieved the best of everything. As a scientist, now you are a president. You are such a successful and a happy person. How do you feel? Then he said, successful, yes. Happy, no. You know how he would speak in very simple syllables, not a very complicated sentence. He laughed and he said, successful, yes. Happy, no. I wanted to pursue playing Veena. But my family conditions, I was the oldest one with education. So I had to go out and earn so that my family can be taken care of. And as I started working, I started on the side getting educated also. Therefore, I went into DRDO and other things to become a scientist. But this is not the field which I like. This is that person who is talking about the one who has spearheaded the space technology, spearheaded the missile technology, spearheaded various other inventive fields. Says, yes, it has given me success, but I am not content within. Then the interviewer sheepishly asks, have you found an opportunity to learn Veena? Said, after having settled as a scientist, I was the oldest student to my Veena teacher. Yes, with these twisted fingers of mine, I do dabble at my Veena, but the opportunity was lost when I was young. That which is your swadharma, your own inherent qualities, inherent talents, bringing that out is and sticking to it brings you lot more contentment and satisfaction than anything else trying to do someone else's business. Swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavaha. So let us identify what we are good at, and as parents, that is one job that we should do towards our children. That is where parenting we would have done a justice. Just financial stability is not enough. It has also to do justice to that child and their talents that which they are born with. As a parent, it is our inherent duty to recognize those patterns, give them the room and scope to develop it, master it, and through that be a solution for the world. If not anything else, you would have made a happy citizen as a contribution to this nation. Because what guides us, isn't it financial stability, financial security? Even when they want to take some other kind of line of jobs or profession, we would dissuade them. Why? We are fearful for their future because it doesn't seem to give financial stability. Along with the financial stability, if we can reorient to think about their contentment, satisfaction and happiness, a person who is happy can contribute much more than the person who is grumbling. It is our responsibility to create a happy nation along with a successful nation. If we are focused more on creating happy children, the nation would definitely become successful. We have the equation a little wrong. I don't blame. We have just come out of our entangled environment with the Islamic invasions, the Islamic ruling, then the British, then the French, then the Portuguese, Dutch. They depleted everything. Just about 80 years ago, we got independence. We are not that financially secured. So that becomes the main criteria. But along with that, being a Hindu, we should recognize what is it that the scripture is pointing. That along with that, that talent has to be recognized, nourished, provide that confidence for them to look into that direction. Though I went a little tangent there, coming back to the shloka. Now, after listening to this, a happy change happens here. That Arjuna who was despondent in the first chapter, reactive even in the beginning of the third chapter, now seems to have pulled himself out of that despondency. He is asking for the first time a question which is in line with the logic, and now he wants to understand how to evolve himself. So that sincerity is seen in this Arjuna's question. So what is he asking? He says, Arjuna uvacha atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. Bhagwan, as you rightly pointed, even if we want to bring in a change in ourselves, anichannapi, even though we do not want to slip down to the tamasic way of life, anichannapi, we seem to be dragged into that world of tamasic existence, balat iva niyojitaha, as though by force of that gravity of that tamasic nature, we are dragged into it because our raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes are very, very strong. Thereby we end up committing, already being in tamas means doing lot of things which are against dharma, therefore papa. Now it is like a catch 22 that until I come out of it, until I become Rajasic, I cannot face it. But being in the tamas, I am dragged further down into tamas. Papam leads to further papavritti, and I seem to be stuck here. Atha kena prayuktoyam. How should I try to pull myself out? Because I understand what you are saying, but I also know by experience that I am being dragged by it. How does one protect oneself in this environment? Do you understand the sincerity now, the change of his tone and tenor, that he is now asking on a individual level, how does one grow out of it? So he is now slowly but surely out of his despondent mindset. Definitely, Varshneya, that who is born of the Vrishni Kula, that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is answering straight up in simple doables. These last set of shlokas are the most practical for every sincere seeker who wants to bring a significant change in their own life. However worse situation we maybe have fallen into, we can pull ourselves out if these set of shlokas are understood and try practicing it. So what does the shloka say? Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kama Yesha Krodha Yeshaha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenamiha Vairinam. He says, Arjuna, if you are really sincere to grow out of your dull way of life, understand who your enemies are. See, when you want to win a war, you have to understand who you are fighting against. नहीं, मुझे झगड़ना है. तुझे झगड़ना है, पर किससे झगड़ रहा है? That who you want to go fight with, do you have even a semblance of strength to go fight against them? This standpoint is called the awareness of who the Shatru is. Shatru Bodha, who the enemy is. Vidyenam iha vairinam. Understand them as your very strong enemies. What are they? Kama esha krodha yeshaha. Kama eshaha krodha yeshaha. These two are your enemies. One is desire or cravings. Very intense cravings. Kama. And then krodha. My interest, my ego, my things have to be fulfilled, and if anything comes in its way, the only thing that I know is to get turbulently angry. Know these two to be your Baddha Shatru. Whose cravings and whose anger? Not your family members. Your own Kama and Krodha. Kama esha Krodha eshaha. Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha. It is the retaliatory nature of your mind born out of the Rajoguna. How are they? Maha Ashanaha. Both of these have bottomless pit, a very high appetite. The more you feed them, the more they devour and demand. Kama is never fulfilled because you indulge in it. It only aggravates, demanding for more of such kind. Krodha also, see, how many times have we not seen that we are having an argument? Sorry, we are having a discussion. Discussion turns into an argument. Then argument immediately becomes tu mai mein. It becomes a fight. In your effort of self-protection and justifying your own standpoint, you lash out at the other person. You have already proven your point. Do we stop? We have to drag their face through all kinds of insulting environments until my ego satisfies. I know of families, people who for years on end carry that anger. उस दिन तूने ऐसे बोला था, सबके सामने बोला था. किस दिन? 20 साल पहले. अभी 20 साल बाद there was a movie called 20 साल बाद, a horror movie. Your life is a horror movie. After 20 years, still clinging on to that which has happened several eons ago. Never get satisfied. Angered momentum towards our own loved ones. That is also another strange thing. See, whenever you get any irritation with the outside world, some Tom, Dick and Harry that you have no connection with, there comes an irritation, maybe also evolve into anger, but out of sight, out of mind. That situation goes away, the angered moment or the irritation dies down. We claim that we love these people who are our family, but our anger seems to be only evolving like a volcano, erupting every single time, and it happens only with those we love. It begs to question, did we really love? Father towards their son or daughter, the children towards the father or the mother, the husband towards the wife towards the husband. This is supposed to be intimate family, and within that family there are these angers. Because you feel you are the victim, you are wronged. Even if the other person builds up some maturity and comes says sorry. नहीं, दिल से नहीं बोला तुमने. We are on that high horse of stupidity, not even righteousness. Kama esha krodha esha mahashanaha. They are constantly hungry. How much ever you feed them, how much ever you indulge in them, they never get satisfied. Krodha also, the more you keep justifying, the more you keep getting angry. We don't let go. Vidhi enam iha vairinam. Understand them to be your greatest enemy here and now. Recognize all those patterns of cravings, restlessness, irritation and anger. Write it down. Jot it down. Educate your mind that these exist in me. First step. Acknowledge that is a reality. We try to shove it under the rug. Recognize it, acknowledge it. Then try to come to terms with it. Unless I take that proactive method of handling my own cravings and anger issues. Nobody from the outside can help us understand them to be such turbulent enemies sitting right within us, born out of our own raga and dvesha. How do they cover our inner quietude or inner sense of balance? So he says, gives a very beautiful example here, 3 examples. धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निः यथा दर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भः तथा तेनेदमावृतम्. 3 examples given. Yatha ulbena avritaha garbhaha. Just like the womb is covered by the uterus. In all that placental fluid and the placental layer, it is covered. How much time does it take? At least 9 months. 3 trimesters for that baby to express. Until then, it is caught in that garbha. That is the first example. Second example, yatha adarshaha malenacha. Just like the mirror has been tainted, acquired a lot of dust on it, accumulation of dust. That is the second example. Third example, dhumena avriyate vanhihi. Dhumena, just like when you are doing some havan or the earlier days, the chula, and if there is a lot of smoke, how the fire is covered. 3 examples given. Tamasic is like the shishu covered in the garbha. Only time and nature has to deliver them out. How much ever you try, it is difficult, you cannot get out of it. Rajasic is like the dust which has been accumulated over time on the mirror. Now the dust which is accumulated on the mirror, it is not just dust. Specifically that mirror which is in your bathroom in front of the sink. What all falls on it? Ayo. That is one time waste. Looking at that mirror while you are brushing, इतनी क्या खूबसूरती दिखती है अपने आप में पता नहीं, टाइम वेस्ट तो उधर बहुत करते हैं. Keep watching it, and thereby all that brushing sprinkled. When you wash your face, all the stickers that gum, and for several days or weeks at end, all the dust that has accumulated. You try cleaning it with water, you will make it even more dirty. So what do? The same example is taken by Tulsidas ji in the beginning of Hanuman Chalisa. Nija man mukuru sudhari. You have to take a fine particle dust like the vibhuti or the ash. Mix it in water, sprinkle it on the glass. Take a paper and then wipe it down in one stroke. All that which had been accumulated on it, along with the vibhuti that you have just sprinkled, It cleans that entire layer once and for all. But a little effort is required. Dhumena avriyate vahnihi. It is actually an art to cook on a chula with the firewood being supplied. The sophisticated gas stove enriched lifestyle will find it difficult. Why? How many of you have cooked on a chula? You cannot change my question paper. 2, 3 of you. So when the firewood is put in there for various reasons, maybe the firewood has some dampness in it, maybe the airflow is not proper, maybe the pan that you have put has occupied too much of space inside, maybe various reasons or all of them put together. When there is not enough airflow, it starts producing smoke. And our ancestors had a beautiful technology. They had a pipe, a nice size pipe. And those of us who do not have the experience will have it in our mouth blowing at it. The more you blow, the more it generates smoke. There has to be a technology behind it. It has to be an inch or so away from your mouth. Because what you are blowing out is carbon dioxide. The more you blow carbon dioxide into it, the more it will suffocate that fire and produce smoke. A little distance. While you are blowing the air out into that pipe, it draws the existing oxygen and that gets supplied into that fire. It does two jobs. Blows away the smoke and provides oxygen for it to rightly flame up. This is the easy one wherein with a little understanding and a blow of air that can be removed. So the dhuma on the Agni is the sattvic covering. A little blow of air, little touch, Guru Vakya, and that smoke can be removed. Most of us should be falling in that second category, wherein our own antakarana, which has accumulated so much of dust from the outside, baith ke ghiso, so that the antakarana can be purified. Very rare few for who we can only offer prayers. Nothing can be done. They are stuck and stuck there for a very long time to come. That is the tamasic covering. Therefore, I was saying, in order to make a change, some rajas is required. Completely dull-witted tamasic environment, no hope. Tatha tenedam avrutam. What is avrutam? That is being explained, because suddenly he has taken the examples. So he has to explain what is covered by what. So that is taken into discussion in the 39th. Avrutam jnanametena jnanino nitya vairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. What is covered? It is our intellect, the buddhi that is covered. Avrutam jnanam etena. These cover the jnana within us. Usually when we are in that situation, the buddhi has to be triggered into action to take right actions, right directions. For most of us, if you observe, the first instance that there is a situation, the buddhi screams, the first thought that comes is usually the solution. But then our own mind, which is covered in this kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara, it overpowers that intellect because it has to suit its likes and dislikes. It neglects its own buddhi. That buddhi is covered, therefore we are stuck where we are stuck. Avritam jnanametena jnaninaha nitya vairina. This kama and krodha, craving and anger, frustrations, it is our eternal enemies. Whether it does something harm to the outside world or not, it certainly does harm to the individual first. And yet, we are stuck in our own mandatva, denseness, that we are not ready to let go of that krodha and that craving, though we see that it is harming us, though we see that it is the very cause for my existing turbulent, painful, miserable life. We are not ready to forgive, we are not ready to forget, we are not ready to move on. Kama rupena kaunteya, this kama, which is also the cause for krodha, it is like fire, and the more you fulfill this, it is like adding fuel into the fire. In the Middle East, when there are wars happening, usually the enemies, to teach them a lesson, they light the oil wells. Have you seen the firefighters? How difficult it is for them to fight that fire. It takes months on end. There was a case study that I was studying in Kuwait. There was one particular oil well which was lit by the Iraqi forces. They had to drill 2 holes, one on each side, and drop a very subminimal nuclear power to nuke that pipeline down somewhere a kilometer or so underneath, so that the supply is stopped and thereby stopping the fire. No amount of water, no amount of asphyxiation of it helped. It is that difficult. So into that fire, if you are offering fuel, where will that fire extinguish? Therefore, one should understand not to fan our lives with the fire of likes and dislikes supporting our desires. Dushpurena alalena cha. तो भाई अब करे तो करे क्या? What should we do? He says, Indriyani mano buddhihi asyadhisthana muchyate etair vimohayatyeshaha jnanamavritya dehinam. All this is the study of the enemy. The Shatru Bodha has to be clear. Where are the origins of this karma? Where does it exist? What is its residence address? It is like a gangster. Gangster does not have one place of residence. He has multiple residences. And it is his job to constantly keep the police forces and the other intelligence agencies on a lookout. So whenever such people are tracked and attacked and to be, curtailed or caught, what does the intelligence agency do? Actually, they put lot of forces together. CRPF, police force, NSA, CBI, CID, all these people with their forces, the elite forces, they simultaneously attack and try to find him in all the known possible targets where he is seen. That is called raiding. You raid all the possible avenues where he is found. Otherwise, you target at one place, that fellow slips to the other place. You target that place, he'll slip to the other place. So, what is the residence address of this Kama? So, he says here, Indriyani manobuddhihi asya adhishthanam uchyate. 3 addresses. What are the 3 addresses? Indriyani, organs of perception and action. Manaha, the mind. And then buddhi. The indriyas, mana and buddhi are the residence address of this kama, this craving. Asyadhisthana uchyate. So just trying to bring a change of our life, external pressure of trying to control the indriyas will not be sufficient. Just trying to educate my buddhi is not sufficient. Just to try focusing on my mind to be on a straight path is not sufficient. All 3 of them have to be attacked at the same time. Understanding this, our ancestors, what did they do? Gave us the techniques. Sit in front of the altar and do your japa. Simplest of the technique. And then people want convenience. Swamiji, is it okay if I do my japa while cooking, walking and doing other things? Do that also. But don't make that as the very method of doing. Sit and do. By sitting and doing it at one altar place, what happens? The indriyas are brought in. They don't have other avocations to run. The mind is being engaged. The intellect is asked to be vigilant. All the 3 avenues are put into action. Now to add to that, while doing japa, they say, take a japamala. Swamiji, it is also cumbersome. That where we are already ensnared in. To pull that out, you need these tools. So you have to keep a count while moving the japamala. You have to watch your breath. In synchronization with your breath, you have to chant. So the organs of perception action are engaged, the mind is engaged, the buddhi is brought in to be the vigilant one. What happens during that time? When done thus, the grip of that kama, krodha and the other negativities loosens. When over a period of time you engage thus, the grip finally falls apart. A regularity of you doing this before you start the day and after you end the day, it helps one to sharpen your system to be vigilant, and then by the evening to clean up all the mess that has been acquired. In our ancient methods, when the Gayatri mantra was initiated to the student, what was the student expected to do? Trikala Sandhya. వాళ్ళకి తోచక పని పాట లేక కూర్చొని చేయమంటూ ఉన్నారంతే. No, there is a reason. Of these, the most important, the Pratara Sandhya and Sayam Sandhya. The morning japa has to be done, the evening japa has to be done, which attacks all three areas of indriya, mana, buddhi. Thereby, it weakens the grip of this cravings, the kama, and the agitations, krodha. Jnanam avritya dehinam. These are the ones sitting at the gateway, sitting at the processing unit. It creates a havoc for the individual. Does not allow that buddhi to kick in, jnana and the dharmic right path to take. Therefore, now that the logic is given, he is now drawing the conclusion of this logic. Tasmat tvamindriyanyadau niyamya bharatarshava papmanam prajahihyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, we should start from the first step, is disciplining our organs of perception action. Our elders, when they used to say, while studying, put everything away, so that the distractions are lessened. Automatic, disciplined environment created. Start with the indriyas, disciplining the indriyas, educating the mind. Now, what happens when the indriyas are controlled? That is the gateway of entry-exit points. When that entry-exit point is first controlled, curtailed, then you will have the opportunity to work on the inside. Therefore, whether you take Ashtanga Yoga or the basic fourfold qualifications for a Vedanta seeker, what is the first thing they say? Yama. Yama, external control. Then comes Niyama, internal control. What a sophisticated system. Given for free. You don't have to pay for it, you don't have to struggle for it, it is available. What is the first step? Yama. Second step? Niyama. Third step? Pranayama. Then comes asana in the Ashtanga Yoga way. The first three steps are neglected. Straight jump into asana. What benefit will it have? For a sense of satisfaction, you have done asana, then go back without yama niyama, indulge again. The sadhana is not for our convenience. The sadhana is to straighten the mind, straighten the system, so that we can start following the right path every single step. Therefore, he says, first step is to control this indriya. Why? It is the gateway for all the papa kritya that we do. And that is where the initiation for destruction of our intelligence, destruction of our buddhi is starting at the gateway. Port of entry and exit is the indriyas. Lay down a simple techniques of controlling. And as Sant Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, the first and foremost indriya to control is jihva. It is two in one. Both the organ of perception as well as organ of action. All that you have to do is, while eating, have a control. Ritabhuk, hitabhuk, mitabhuk. Eat that which is dharmic. Eat that which is ritabhuk, done. Mitabhuk, eat little, in a moderate way, and eat that which goes well with your system, not aggravate, and eat in a disciplined, timely manner. Speech. How to speak, when not to speak. Most important, when to stop and when to withdraw. Start with the tongue, the 3-inch nuisance. That which it eats cannot digest, therefore keeps wagging. Both ways creates trouble. Start with this, you can draw the rest of them into accessible control. Continuing, he says, there is a sequence to this. What shloka? 42nd, right? Now this 42nd shloka is the most important one to remember. Please repeat after me. Indriyani paranyahuhu indriyebhyah param manaha manasastu para buddhihi buddheh paratastu saha. Indriyani paranyahuhu indriyebhyah param manaha. The grossest of this seat of kama and krodha are the indriyas. Those gross indriyas have to be controlled by the one which is subtler than it, which is the mind. The mind is grosser than the intellect. So the intellect has to guide and control the mind. So the intellect guides the mind guides the indriyas. That is why we say shantish, shantish, shantihi. 3 layers of ashanti. Indriyas go in their own field, mind goes in its own field, the buddhi goes in its own. So the individual is pulled and stretched to exhaustion in 3 different ways. That is why when somebody is worrying, in Telugu we say, tapatraya padaku. That word is so beautiful. Tapa is the exhaustion. Traya in 3 different places. Therefore, Shanti also said 3 times so that in each layer we can find it. Therefore, what should the Indriyas do? It has to adhere to that which the mind is saying. What should that mind give the direction to the Indriyas? That which is guided by the intellect, and the intellect has to be educated in the dharmic way. Now that intellect which has been drawn, balanced, that is what is qualified to turn within for the higher. Without having evaluated this, we bring this kind of equipment directly to the seat of meditation. स्वामी जी ये प्रवचन ववचन ये सब ठीक है, मेडिटेशन सिखाओ. अबे सिस्टम रेडी नहीं है. System has to be fine-tuned before I think I am qualified for meditation. That is like a postdoc, not even PhD. It is a postdoc course. And we have yet to learn ABCD. So these are the 3 seats. The Indriyas, Mana, Buddhi. Start with the disciplining of the Indriya. Train the mind to look at life beyond likes and dislikes. Guide the rest of the 2 through the educated intellect to a value-based system so that we can retrieve all of this into our control and use it in a meaningful direction. Whether it is for the Karma Yoga or the Adhyatma Yoga. For both, this preparedness is required. We send our children to education, none of this is taught, and we release them out into the market without this fine tuning and preparation. God only save us. Therefore, finally concluding, evam buddheh param buddhva samstabhyatmanamatmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. Having now thus understood that buddhi is the subtlest, educate that buddhi, provide that environment of satsanga so that that buddhi can be constantly enriched. It is starving, it does not have this guidance. Give that opportunity to that buddhi so that it can nourish itself with the right knowledge. Evam buddhehe param buddhva. Now that enriched buddhi will align the rest of them. Samstabhyatmanam atmana. By the self, for the self, train the mind to look beyond likes and dislikes. We say willpower. We have lots of will, but no power. Why? The buddhi is uneducated. Yes, educated in the empirical world, but in the inside world, shunya. So, strengthen that intellect so that it can take the mana and the indriyas into the right direction. Samstabhyatmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. This is the way one has to deal with the desire, not by suppressing it, but by eliminating it through this educated process. What a systematic study. Beautifully given out. I can only pray and invoke that Bhagavan's blessings that after having heard it, we have the courage, the commitment, and the consistency to be able to follow it through. 3 C's to remember: courage, commitment, and consistency. Methods are simple, but what we lack is consistency. Sometimes, Veeraveshanlo, wake up 4 in the morning and do once in a blue moon. That doesn't help. If you are waking up at 6:30, wake up by 6 o'clock. Spend that half an hour, that extra half an hour in training, educating, and fine-tuning ourselves. Slow and steady, one step at a time, without exaggerating, without unnecessarily trying to change everything. One step, one little thing at a time. Shanaihi, shanaihi. Slowly but steadily. That consistency is the key. Hope and pray we get the 3 C's, triple C. The courage, the commitment, and the consistency to win over the mind, because it is matter and mind, it is mind over matter. And we have to reach there. I'll stop here. The chapter comes to a conclusion. The final Sankalpa Vakya, which states that this is the 3rd chapter that we have studied. Just repeat after me and we'll conclude. Om Tat Sat Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Yogo Nama Tritiyodhyayah. Thus comes the most beautiful step-by-step logical way to our own upliftment in such methodical, beautiful steps. The third chapter comes to the end. So we will finish and then we will do the Guru Dakshina and Yagna Prasada, and then we will have the Arati. That will be the sequence. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.